I'm Cienna.
Oh no, I missed it. Okay, go ahead.
Hey, I'm Cienna.
And I'm Madison.
And you're listening. Hey, I'm Cienna.
And I'm Madison.
I'm sorry. Yelling at them.
This is really aggressive. Okay, here we go.
Hi, I'm Cienna.
And I'm Madison.
And you're listening to the Just a Person podcast.
Hi everybody, welcome to Just a Person podcast, a show that explores life's highs, lows, and in-betweens. I'm Madison, and today's guest is me. I talk about my experience with celiac disease, including my lifelong struggle with symptoms, my journey to diagnosis, and the importance of taking care of yourself. Thanks so much for listening and enjoy.
Welcome, Madison. Great to have you on today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Thanks so much.
You're welcome.
I know I'm the guest, but I'm still going to read the question.
Okay.
So here's the question from the hat. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Oh, man. Okay, interesting. How will humans as a species go extinct?
Ooh. Okay. Does the guest normally go first?
Yeah, I feel like it's gonna be like we're gonna bring something upon ourselves.
Oh, absolutely.
Something like the coronavirus, something that people like is gonna happen. We're not gonna take it seriously.
Yes, I could see a disease. I could see in the future a huge war, and especially with like atomic bombs and stuff. Or like say there was some sort of war and like we like lost power and stuff, like power lines and everything. I could just see people almost turning into like a Hunger Games scenario where you're just like everyone's out for themselves, like people are turning on each other. I just see it like when things go bad, I see us handling it horribly.
Amazing. What a positive question.
So today we have a special guest named Madison.
Thank you.
I actually don't know her.
I'm really excited to meet her though.
I'm really excited to meet this girl and hear about her story.
I'm Madison. I'm from Michigan, so that's, my background. I got a brother, parents, mom, dad. Yeah, growing up, I liked being outside a lot with my family. I'm really close with my family, my cousins and stuff. So I played sports. I started playing soccer, I think when I was 4, and then I played until I graduated high school. Played basketball. Oh, Sienna, this is something you don't know about me. When I was in kindergarten and first grade, I was a cheerleader.
What? I never would have in my entire life guessed that.
At my elementary school, it was really small, so they only had basketball, and you couldn't play basketball until 3rd grade. But kindergarten and first and second grade, you could be a cheerleader. So I was a cheerleader for the basketball team. And then 2nd grade, I became the water girl because my mom was a coach and I didn't like cheerleading.
The water girl.
That feels more my speed.
Yeah, that makes sense. I can see that way more than I can see you being a cheerleader. Yeah, that just does not fit with anything I know about you.
Yeah, so that's
a fun fact.
My background. Yeah.
So in your childhood, I guess, did you always feel like healthy?
No, I have some other issues. Like I have really bad allergies, asthma, stuff like that. So I always knew like things were a little bit off, and with my stomach as well. I remember a little bit being younger and like I would eat certain things like spaghetti really stands out to me. And I knew after I ate, I would always get really crampy, but I just kind of chalked that up to like I ate too much today or whatever. So I've never really felt probably fully healthy like some people might, but it's something that wasn't too bad, and so I could manage it pretty well.
Okay, what age was that? Like when you would like eat your spaghetti and feel crampy?
I don't know. I would say just in elementary school. I don't know, maybe like 8, 9, something like that.
Okay, so were those kind of your main like symptoms back then? Was just like
cramping?
Yeah. That was like baseline for you.
Yeah, was being crampy all the time after I ate. And I thought that was fine. So I would just take Tums or like I chew a lot of gum. That's a really bad habit that I have.
You do. Does gum help it?
I think like minty things help. I don't know necessarily if it's helping me, but it just makes me feel better. I think it's like just like a security blanket.
Yeah. So I guess when did you, like you said in elementary school, you didn't really know that anything was wrong, even though you did feel unwell. When did you realize like something was wrong?
I think in middle school, I noticed there were things that I knew weren't supposed to be happening, just with my stomach and stuff like that. But I didn't really say anything. There was just kind of, when I was in middle school, there was just kind of a lot going on in my life and like my family. So I didn't really feel like that was something that I should bring up. Not like to any fault of anybody else, but it's just, there was just a lot going on. So it didn't feel like the biggest thing. And I was also just kind of scared, I think. And I mean, I was also 12 years old. At the time, my mom and like a few other people in my family had pretty serious cancer and stuff going on. So I think I was just scared too about like what it would mean for me.
Okay, that kind of makes sense. So did you kind of assume it was the worst?
I think I didn't really know. So I was like, I guess I'm just gonna have to see what happens. I don't know. I don't know why I never brought it up, honestly.
I feel like that's really normal though. A lot of people, when they have something, they almost don't want it to be real.
Yeah.
By going to the doctor and getting a diagnosis, it turns like your symptoms into like they just like to ignore it, because you know what I mean, nobody wants to go and find out horrible news. You just want to continue living your life as though everything's fine, even though you know it's not.
And also, I don't like to make a big deal of things. I don't like to talk about I don't really like to talk about personal things. I don't know what to say sometimes.
Yeah. So at the time, were your parents aware at all that you were kind of feeling this way? Or was it something that you completely kept to yourself? Or did they kind of have an understanding, but not fully?
No, I didn't tell anybody at all. I think you know this better than anyone probably, but I have a recurring problem of not ever telling anybody anything.
Yeah.
So I just really keep things to myself until it's like too far gone. I think that's something that I've really tried to get better at, because I mean, especially with this situation, like that's not healthy. And I think I've always just had like the fear that something's wrong, the fear that I'm going to be like putting a burden on somebody by just telling them something that's going on. I think that was kind of to my detriment in a lot of different ways. So no, they didn't know. I probably didn't start talking about not feeling well until like high school, end of high school, college.
When you finally did decide to like talk about it, what changed to where you felt it was something you did need to like discuss with your family?
I didn't like go out of my way to be like, hey, I'm having these issues. It was more just I started bringing up if I didn't feel well after I ate, things like that. But I think another tricky side to it is that my mom and brother both have a gluten intolerance and I have celiac disease, and the physical like stomach issues are pretty similar. So, and they didn't know at the time. I don't feel well, they don't feel well. So it's like if I bring it up, it's normal because no one feels well. So then it's like, is this something that I need to go to the doctor for? I don't know, because this is how everybody else feels too.
Okay, so I didn't know that at the time they didn't know that they had a gluten intolerance either. Do you want to talk about like the symptoms and stuff you were experiencing, or like how they progressed and changed? Or
yeah, so I wrote them down because there's a lot of them. There's literally hundreds of symptoms that you can have, and you can have a mix of any of them, and they can be so unrelated, or you can just have none at all. Some people don't have any symptoms, not gastrointestinal or anything like that. But okay, to be honest, I don't want to talk about all of them, so I'm not going to.
However you want to go about it.
So just to be straight up with everybody.
Yeah.
There's some things like between me and my doctor, you know what I mean? Like,
that's understandable. I was the same on mine. Like I shared a lot, but you don't need to say every single like detail.
I think a big thing that I miss a lot, because I assume that people think if I'm talking to you about my stomach issues, I assume you know I have throw up or like diarrhea or something, but I'm not going to sit here and talk about that. So for future reference on this podcast, if I talk about getting sick, that's what I'm talking about, but no one needs to hear me say that a bunch of times. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't make me uncomfortable, but like no one wants to listen to someone talk about that. And also just like a lot of cramping, bloating, like that kind of stuff that happens all the time. I get that all the time now.
So when she says stomach issues, just let your mind wander.
Whatever you imagine will not be as bad as what I've experienced.
Yeah, so just like really get imaginative and know that that's what's happening.
Think whatever you want. You're probably right.
Stomach issues. Just whatever comes to mind.
So, okay. So before I mention more of my symptoms, just quickly. So celiac disease is an autoimmune disease where your body attacks these little hairs in your small intestine called villi, and that's the part of your body that absorbs nutrients from the food that you eat. So over time, if you're eating gluten, it wears them down and can completely wipe them out. So you're not getting any nutrients into your body. If I had to guess how long I've had it, I would guess since middle school when I started to get sick. I've had a lot of these other things since then, but they've gotten worse, much worse over time. So that's kind of why it's happening. My body attacks itself, which makes me sick. And then I'm not getting any nutrients, which leads to these other symptoms. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so kind of what you just said, your body doesn't absorb the food you eat if you're eating gluten. Yeah.
Once they've been worn down the villi, they can come back, but it takes time for them to heal and like for the rest of your body to heal and for your symptoms to go away if they do. Sometimes it's like it's too far gone and they can't be fixed.
I feel like you mentioned, and you'll probably expand on about how you have like a lot of different symptoms, some that have nothing to do with your stomach issues, shall we say, and that's because the lack of nutrients, right?
So there's no medicine or cure or anything for celiac disease. It's just all you can do to manage it is follow a really strict gluten-free diet for the rest of your life. Since I would have had it for probably about 10 years until I was diagnosed, which is the average amount of time people have it without being diagnosed, it wears down at you over time. So when you're not absorbing nutrients, you have to get them from somewhere for your body to survive. So it starts taking it from other parts of your body, like your muscles, your nerves, your nervous system, like that kind of thing. So that's what kind of led to a lot of these other symptoms. Probably my biggest one, and I think this is the one that you can speak on, is I was just so tired all of the time. You might think like, oh, you're in high school, you're in college, whatever, you're doing all these things, everybody's tired. But no, not to the point where I used to just fall asleep. I would almost fall asleep while I was driving, while I was in class. And when I was in our dorm room, we lived together in college, I would just fall asleep. And I had no control over that.
When you said the driving thing, I kind of forgot. You've called me a few times and you'll be like, can I talk? Like, I'm driving. I don't want to fall asleep. And at the time, I was just like, geez, just like, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, but just stay awake. Like, what do you mean? You think you might fall asleep? You're driving. Like, I've never had to like call or do something. Even if I'm tired, I can just choose to stay awake if I have to. Falling asleep right now isn't really an option for me. Like, I'm going to stay awake. Whereas you're like, yeah, like, I don't know.
When I'm not feeling well, like I can't stand up, I can't get out of bed, I just sleep all the time. And one time I was just sitting in a chair and I bent over to grab water, my water bottle, and I just fell asleep. I was too tired to sit back up.
Wait, was I there for that?
I think so.
I feel like I do remember that. Like you just like hunched over sleeping.
Yeah. That was probably like my worst. That was like in my worst times. And I could be asleep for 15 minutes, an hour, any amount of time.
Yeah, see, that like something that would never ever happen to me.
And it's not like I wasn't sleeping. I was getting like 9 hours of sleep every night.
Yeah, it's not like you were like exhausted, you know what I mean? Like exhausted and you just like fall asleep. You were properly sleeping.
I would go to class for like 50 minutes, okay? Like just a short college class. And I'd come back and be like, I have to lay in my bed right now. I cannot do a thing. It'd be like the middle of the afternoon. And I was like, I can't do anything the rest of this day. Like I'm exhausted.
Like I have like weeks, like, you know what I mean, where I feel exhausted. And it's like, even that for me, I'm like, oh my gosh, like I cannot deal with being tired, and it might be 7 days I feel that way. Whereas you, it's like just every day.
Yeah, so not that, but like my next point is my left side of my body, I don't really have a lot of feeling in it from my face, like all the way down to my feet. I do have feeling in it, but like if you were to like touch my left arm compared to my right arm, it's a really noticeable difference of how much I can feel. My leg, it gets sometimes like completely numb.
Did you have that in college? I think I kind of remember you mentioning that. And I was like, you're like, yeah, I can't really feel it. And I was like, oh, I feel like I remember you saying that like sophomore year.
Like, who is this girl that I just moved in with?
Yeah, I feel like this literally happened like when we first met. I swear I remember you like mentioning something about like not being able to feel it well. And I was like, I didn't know. I was like, I feel like that's kind of serious. Like it was kind of like maybe go to the doctor. Like I was like, is she having a stroke? That's what I think.
On the right side of my body, I can feel it pretty well, but like it gets really weak. Sometimes I can tell that my right side doesn't move the same way that my left side does. Yeah, it's like it gets really tired. So that's just a weird thing. I told you this before. I used to walk with kind of like a limp and people made fun of me because they thought I was trying to be cool. And and I was like, no, like this is just how I walk. And then like my legs used to give out, my knees. But yeah, and tell me what your perspective was, me coming in and being like, here's all my issues, but like it's fine.
Okay, because like I obviously didn't meet you until college. So when you would say like the way I felt like you approached it, you were always so casual about it. You were just like, yeah, like I like don't feel well, like oh this happens, like I just need to like lay down, you know what I mean? And so I don't really have like a lot, I didn't really know, but you seemed casual. So like I was kind of like, okay, she knows more than I do, like how she's feeling. I kind of thought like you had it more under control, I guess. You didn't, but like I didn't realize that like because I knew like you know what I mean, like you had been to the doctors. So I figured like you kind of had like a plan or like you knew what was wrong and like you were managing it and you were just having like a flare up or something. I didn't really know. So I would just kind of do whatever like you asked and kind of just like help however you thought I could instead of like I don't know. Like I guess I don't really know. I'm not sure if that's very helpful, but
No, it makes sense. I mean, what do you do? Like you didn't know me, just falling asleep, like being weird. What are you gonna do?
yeah. Like I really never thought it was like that weird though. Like I thought it was like weird, but you were just like you just made it so normal. Like it was just how it was. So to me, after like the first few times, because I mean that happened all the way until like we graduated. I just like stopped thinking it was like weird. I was just like, oh yeah, like she's just sick. Like
Okay, I'll just quick run through my other stuff. So, I get really bad sores in my mouth and also on my body, like my shoulders and my arms. I get like pretty bad mood swings, which we can talk about that if you want. Anxiety, panic attacks, joint pain, heartburn, brain fog, short-term memory loss, headaches, nausea. My eyes were like really I had like really bad dark circles around my eyes and like they were really swollen, which I didn't notice. I didn't know that they were swollen until later when they stopped being swollen and I was like, whoa, my eyes look so weird. Like I had to get used to them because they looked they looked so
that
different.
is so weird. Wow. You have an entire new face.
I know. It's honestly like it's weird. I don't know. My teeth, I'm missing a tooth and then another tooth I have like just like a little like sliver of a tooth, so I have a fake tooth in place of that. You probably can't tell by looking at my mouth because my mouth is so small, but like I am missing a tooth. And then I had like really low blood pressure for a long time and people were like, "Oh, it's fine, like you work out a lot." Like not a lot, but like I played sports and I run whatever.
Like it's a good thing. Like it's like you have it because you're healthy.
Yeah. And then I was like, maybe, but like it was really low, Cienna. Like I was afraid. That's a thing when you get gluten, your blood pressure drops really low and you get like a fever, and I get that and you get really sweaty. I used to be like playing sports and stuff, and I used to always eat mac and cheese before I played because you can have those little cups and like it was enough for me so I wouldn't get hungry. I would be like warming up for basketball or something. I'd be like, I'm like about to pass out right now.
Oh my God.
I think another big thing that I should have noticed is that I had huge swings in my weight. I could lose like 15 pounds in like 3 days. Over the next week or two, I'd gain like 20 pounds and then I'd lose 10 pounds, gain 15 pounds, lose 5 pounds. It was just all over the place.
Okay, I never knew that. What the heck?
And that was another thing too, where I work out a lot because I have really bad asthma, and that's the only way that I want to. I don't like medicine, so that's the way that I treat it. I would go to the gym all the time and like I'd lose weight and then I would gain 20 pounds for no reason. That really took a toll on me because that was another way for me to be like, oh, I'm so lazy. Why is this happening to me?
Yeah, because I feel like you are like very healthy. Like you eat, I would say relatively healthy, and you do work out all the time. Like you run, like you're active too. Doesn't really make sense that your weight, especially is fluctuating so extreme. Because you kind of have a pretty good routine, like week to week. Like you're pretty stable with like what you put into your body, how much you work out.
Right. Yeah. And I think that was really hard for me for a long time because I couldn't figure out why that was happening.
So is that a symptom?
That's what would happen for me because I would get sick and then I would lose a bunch of weight and then I would be recovering and I would be starving. So I would eat all the time and I would gain a bunch of weight and then I would get sick again and I would lose it all again. And then it just kind of went up and down.
That is really, yeah, I never knew that.
I have really like brittle hair, fingernails. My hair was falling out like crazy.
I remember that as well. You were like, Cienna, I literally am losing all of my hair. And I remember being like, I didn't think you were. It looked normal to me, but you're like, no, like clumps are like falling out.
Yeah, and I started noticing that too my freshman year because I used to have thin hair, but I had a lot of hair, and I started like seeing my scalp. My hair was just falling out in bunches. I was scared to brush my hair because I thought, oh, my hair would fall out if I brushed my hair. So then I started wearing hats all the time, and I stopped kind of brushing my hair, straightening my hair, anything like that.
Because you obviously don't want to damage it more.
Yeah, so that was something that was kind of freaking me out at the time as well. But yeah, probably the worst are the exhaustion, the stomach stuff, obviously. But like even that, I'm sick still now, like because I have other stomach problems too. This is the big one, but like I have other ones, and I'm sick all the time, like several times a week. If I go like a whole week without being sick, like that's just like unbelievable to me. But I mean, I've been doing that for so long, it doesn't bother me. Like it sounds ridiculous, but like throwing up doesn't bother me. It's like all the other stuff that comes with it.
Yeah, more like a lot of the mental. Yeah.
I used to, so with brain fog, that just means like it's pretty much what it sounds like, kind of foggy over your brain. You can't really think. Like I can tell that like my brain is not working at full capacity. I used to literally just talk to people and had no idea. My brother and I'd be just like somewhere and he'd be like, what are you talking about? And I was like, I wasn't talking to you. And he's like, yeah, you just said this. And it would just be like random words.
What the heck?
I used to do that where I would talk to people and I had no idea. I didn't even know that
what you were talking about.
Yeah, or that I was having I didn't even know I'd be having conversations, and then they'd be like, we were just talking about this, and I was like, I have no idea. Or like sometimes I'd just be like at the grocery store and I'd be like, how did I get here? And like, why am I here? I don't know if it sounds like believable. I heard someone else talking about it recently and I was like, wow, I've never met someone in person that understands that. That makes me feel not crazy.
Yeah, that like your symptoms are like valid, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I guess you want to talk about when you decided, because I feel like, I don't know if you did, I was under the impression that you were seeing doctors, but like when were you like, okay, like I actually need to like really figure out what is happening? When was that? Why did you finally decide to do that?
I was seeing a doctor kind of when I met you, because another fun thing is that I get cysts on my ovaries. So that's what I this whole time thought that it was, with my stomach, was just those.
Okay, yes, I remember that. Yeah.
So from when I started college and I kind of was having stomach problems, I went to my allergy doctor and I found out that I had an intolerance to gluten and dairy. It's like a lactose intolerance and a gluten intolerance, which just basically means an intolerance is that you have a hard time digesting something, whereas celiac is an autoimmune disease. So they're two different things. So I was like kind of like, nah, I'd have it here and there, whatever. I wasn't too strict about it. And then maybe like a year and a half ago, I was getting really sick and I couldn't get out of bed anymore. And I was like, man, I'm 21 years old. Like, this isn't normal. I needed, and my stomach always just felt like it was like literally on fire. Like it just hurt so bad all the time, which is a separate issue, not this, that we don't need to get into right now. But that kind of like prompted me to go see the doctor, and I got tested and I found out a few months later. So
were you happy that you got the diagnosis? Because like I feel like sometimes people just want to know what's wrong,
an answer.
Yeah, like because I feel like, what if you would have gone there like, no, you don't have celiacs, and then you're just kind of like, then why do I feel this way? You know what I mean? Whereas now at least you can work with it, kind of. Like, I guess, how did you feel? Not that you were happy about it, but like once you found, like, not that you're
I did like a leap in the air and I clicked my heels.
Okay, not that you're happy about it, but like did you feel any like relief, or like?
I had told some of my friends that I was going to get this test done, and someone asked me kind of a similar thing, would I be happy about it or whatever, and I was like, yeah, it's probably not going to be that big of a change, because at that point, because I was so sick, I had cut out a lot of gluten already on my own. Because also like my mom and my brother, like I mentioned earlier, they have an intolerance. So at my house we were already like pretty much gluten-free at that point. So I was like, yeah, it's not going to be that big of a deal. It's whatever. Like, I just want to know. Yeah. And then I found out, and then it wasn't like that at all. It was really challenging. I think there's a big difference between being gluten-free and being celiac. because when you're gluten free, you think of like, oh, I can't eat this bread or this pasta or whatever, that kind of stuff. But for me, you have to be so careful about, you have to take it all the way back to like, where are these people getting the products that they're using from, like what fields and how do they manufacture it? And then from there, like when I have it at my house, who's touching it and what did they touch before they touched it? Because you have to be really careful with cross contamination. So if I were to buy something from any brand, I have to like research how they manufacture it before. And then even if it doesn't have any gluten in it, if they make something in their factory that does, and they don't clean the lines before and there's shared lines, then I can't have it. To answer your question, yes, I was happy to know and to feel like kind of validated for all the other issues. I'm not just crazy, like these are actually real things. But like just the big life changes, like every second of the day, I have to be conscious of every single thing that I touch. Because I know other people aren't going to be. That's fine. Like that's not on them. That's my job. It just takes a toll on me in trying to deal with transitioning to a new diet, a new way to like live life that's different than everybody else around me. That makes me stick out, which I don't like. That takes away like experiences I could have had. That makes it hard for me to travel. And also like dealing with all of my actual symptoms.
Yeah.
For a long time, that was just really hard on me. So I think to help with that, there's support groups on Facebook, which I'm in, and I've learned a lot from them. And then also like if you have questions or just want somewhere to say something, you put it on there because everyone understands. There's just so many people that have so many different things on there that's super, super helpful. And then I also started journaling a lot, which is something I've never done before because I'm terrified of people finding it and reading it.
Literally. Oh God. That would be my biggest nightmare.
But I started doing that just to like track my symptoms, and that helped me a lot. It's hard, yes, to have a new diet, but the hardest part is dealing with other people who don't get it and who think I'm on a diet, which I'm not. I eat like ice cream, cookies, like
yeah. So it's not like you're eating more or less healthy. It's just it has to be gluten-free.
Right. Like I went to a bakery the other day that was gluten-free, and I had a donut, which I haven't had. I didn't think I'd ever be able to have another this donut, or I had a Pop-Tart, and I'm like tearing up in the bakery. I'm like, just like the relief of like being able to have something that you never thought you'd have again.
Yeah. Because I feel like, especially though, like food is such a big part of like just like people's lives. So you don't really realize how much
like
people
your
base
social life.
Yes, like activities. Almost every activity is based around food. Like you get breakfast together, lunch, like dinner. You can have a like just so many things. Like any event, they usually serve food.
Like how do I travel? How do I go to a wedding, a family function? How do I like go on a date, hang out with my friends?
Yeah. I feel like people don't really realize how important, like we realize how important food is, but we don't.
It affects like everything.
Yeah,
that was a really roundabout way of saying yes. I was glad to know, but like I was saying earlier, I don't really even know how to talk about it. Like I'm not very good at it in a way that like it's not going to take me an hour and a half to explain it, you know? How do you get them to understand or to like be conscious of it?
I guess, does it get tiring having to explain it like over and over and over again?
Yeah, it feels like I'm just like, I don't want that to be like a thing people feel like they have to talk to me about.
Yeah.
Like that's something that I always want to talk about. It's not. I'll talk about it if it comes up or if it's like important, which like you said, like, because it's such like a part of your social life. I have to talk about it all the time because I don't want people to be offended if I don't eat their food, or like people always ask me because I will like bring a plate of food with a cover on it so people don't touch it. And it's like, why are you different than everybody else? It just comes up a lot.
You might seem like stingy too, like, oh, don't, like, you can't touch it.
Yeah, so I'll be like, if you want this, okay, but like don't touch it, I'll give it to you.
Yeah, like don't, you can't even like rip yourself a piece, like I will do it for you. Yeah, it almost seems like you're being so strict about it. You know, people who don't understand might interpret it that way. Like, why is she being so
like you're uptight, you're controlling?
Yeah.
And like I'm not like that at all. I hate it. I hate that I have to be so controlling all the time. It drives me nuts.
Yeah, I feel like me and you are similar. We're both not like, we're very easygoing, like relaxed people.
I just like to blend into the background. Like I don't want any attention.
I know if I had to do that, it would be really hard having to like, I don't like being not that that's even confrontational, but to me it is having to be like, oh no, like you can't do this, or like, but you have to, like, that's just something you have to like learn how to do. Like, you don't really have a choice. It's like, it's almost like you're getting unwanted attention and
it seems like I want the attention. You know what I mean?
Yeah, or I guess it seems like you, not that people actually think that in real life, but it feels like it. Like anytime I talk about myself.
But some people do think that, and I know that they think that because I've been told that. I think sometimes people too like don't think about what they're saying before they say it, and then they say things to me, and I'm like telling me like, if I had to live like you, I'd hate my life. Like, you know, it's kind of like, okay, what do you want me to say to you right now? Like,
oh God. I guess, how would you like people to respond?
I just want people to believe me. Like, I don't want to feel like I have to prove myself that this is real.
Would you prefer if people just like didn't make a big deal out about it?
Here's the thing. I don't want people to feel like they can't ask me a question or like question me on something. But at the end of the day, like, I'm not lying. I'm not out here looking for attention. Like, I'm not out here doing all of this extra stuff because I want attention. Like, the same thing I might do at a party, like in public, I'm doing every day at my house. I'm the same way all the time.
Mm-hmm.
If they want to ask me a question, ask me a question. I'll tell you anything about it that you want to know. When people like very clearly don't believe me,
or they think you're exaggerating or dramatic. Yes.
ugh, yeah, I'm just like, okay, then like, why are you asking me about this? Like, if you don't believe me, go ahead, I don't care, just leave me alone.
Yeah, just leave me alone and let me.
Like, I understand it because it's like, you've never been through this, so why would you be able to understand? Or why, of course you would hate it if you were on this diet. Like, you never had the problems I had, so why would you be on this diet? Or it's not a diet, sorry, I misspoke. Why would you change your life like this if you've never had these problems? I wouldn't do that if I didn't. So like, yeah, of course you're not gonna like it. You don't need to tell me that you'd hate your life, but at the same time, like, I'm not, why would I lie? Why would I make it up? I don't know.
Have you ever cheated since like on your diet, or not diet, on your lifestyle ways?
I just got done saying I don't like calling it a diet. You say, have you ever cheated on your diet?
Have you ever cheated on your little diet that you've been doing?
No.
No.
I have never done that. Nope.
Like intentionally, you've never.
Not since I found out. I haven't had any, accidentally like cross-contamination stuff. Yes, I would never.
You would never just like eat pasta again, or?
No, it's like, I can't even comprehend. For me, I do understand that people do that, and like, I'm not trying to hate on them. I get it. I get why they do it. Like, you get frustrated, you have a really bad day, you're trying to go like travel. There's no scenario for me where that would ever be worth doing.
Yeah, you wouldn't. Would you even want to?
No, I know we've talked about this too before, but like, it's like, I just remember what I used to feel like when I ate stuff like that. It's so unappealing to me. How I explain it is like, if you were to throw up something once, it just gets associated with being sick.
And that like it's not even associated with it. It will make you sick.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Do you have any advice for people who have been diagnosed with celiac, or who feel like they could have it, or friends and family who know someone, just in general?
Get your vitamin levels tested if you've been diagnosed, because that's the whole thing, is that they're low. Yeah, mine were pretty low, and my doctor did not ask me to get them tested. I did that like a month after I found out. I was like, okay, I need to get this done. So do that yourself. That's a big thing too. Like, you got to stand up for yourself sometimes, because doctors don't always know, and celiac is not that like widely talked about. So you have to like stand up for yourself, no matter how uncomfortable it is, or weird you feel, or awkward you feel. So like, if you're out there and it feels awkward, I'm right there with you. But you just have to do it. Like, when people say things, or if you have someone in your life that's like really mean about it or whatever, first of all, get rid of them.
Just cut them out.
Secondly, like, you don't need people in your life that make you feel bad about who you are. Like, this is not something I can control. It's just part of who I am.
It's not something you pick. It's not something you're doing for attention.
No.
It's literally just part of Madison.
Just do it, and it gets easier. Every time you do it, it gets easier.
Okay. It's good to know. There's hope.
There's hope, I think. Like, I think there's always room to get better. And I think that's what keeps me going, is that I know that like and what I've experienced, like, I know I'm going to keep getting better. Having my health, which I don't remember ever having before, Like, it's crazy how much better my life is all around now that I know it's wrong. So yeah, just keep going. It'll be okay.
Well, thank you. That was hopefully very helpful to anybody who's listening. It was lovely having you on. It was lovely getting to know you.
I feel like yeah, it was really nice to meet you. I feel like I shared so much personal information, which probably some people will be surprised to hear if they listen to this. So
yes. Did this go how you wanted? Did you say what you want to say?
I think so. I think
Okay.
that when you have an issue and you're going to talk about it, like whether one person listens to this or like a million, it feels like it's kind of like the weight of the world on you. Like you want to give the right impression.
Yes.
That's how I even feel like in my normal life when I'm talking to people. My thing is, if I meet somebody, I want to tell them things correctly. I put a lot of pressure on myself, as you know, to like be like the bearer of the disease for everybody.
Even though that's insane, like obviously
no one's expecting me to do that.
No, not at all. But yeah, I feel the same way. I want to like show things in the correct like light, I guess, and really help people to understand it.
So that way the next person that comes along that has it, that talks to them, it's like, oh yeah, I already know about that.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you coming on and sharing what you had to share.
I'll talk to you later.
Okay, I'll talk to you later.
Okay.
If you say so.
All right, bye.
Goodbye.
Thanks so much again for listening to our episode today. If you have a story you want to personally share on the show or want us to read on air, find us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at justapersonpod, or send us an email at justapersonpod@gmail.com, and we'll see you next Monday with another new episode.